Have you ever wondered how many signs of female desire you've ignored without even realizing it? The truth is that her body speaks a lot before her mouth. And while you try to decipher what she says in words, she is silently screaming through gestures, looks, and movements that most men simply don't see. If you want to stop being just another person left in the void, or a cool friend that she never really wants, so what you will hear now is what she will never tell you. Already feminine. Psychology applied to attraction, we understand that a woman's desire is subtle, camouflaged, and absolutely strategic. She tests, she watches, she feels before deciding, and the men who do not master this emotional reading end up being discarded before they even have the chance. She may even laugh at your jokes, respond to your messages, but if you don't notice as she looks at you, where she plays, and when she gets closer than necessary, then you're missing out on real opportunities to win her heart. This video is not about superficial tips. It's about deeply understand female behavior and learn to identify the gestures that deliver the hidden desire, even when she feigns disinterest. Here, we go beyond, does she like it or not? Let's delve into her emotional mind, using psychological attraction techniques, female body language, and signals that activate the emotional instinct for connection. If you are a man who has ever felt lost with her behavior, who has ever thought, why? Did she pull away if she seemed so involved? Or, was she interested and I didn't realize? Then you're in exactly the right place. Because the difference between an ignored man and an irresistible man is knowing how to recognize the gestures that she will never confess. And perhaps, the gesture she made yesterday said it all. But calm down. Before you run off after the last conversation you had, you need to understand something that can completely change the way you see the woman you want. And that's exactly why, from now on, you'll no longer be the guy who gets confused, who gets frustrated, or who lives in the dark about how she really feels. Here, you are not alone. You are part of a select group of men who have decided to play the emotional game intelligently, using feminine psychology as a subtle but lethal weapon of seduction. And if you're with me this far, it's because you don't want to be just another. You want access the invisible side of attraction and become the man she thinks about before going to sleep. So, comment below to fix this new behavior code. I read the desire in the details. Or, I activate her mind with strategy. Because when you write this, you commit to this emotional and strategic transformation that will put you light years ahead of the other guys who are still trying to impress with empty words. Like this video now and subscribe to the channel, because here, each content is a piece of the puzzle that will increase not only your ability to conquer, but also his emotional perception. And when a man masters this, he doesn't just attract women, he attracts power, respect, and freedom. This is more than a video, brother. It's the beginning of the turnaround, and it starts now. And the most dangerous thing of all is that she will never tell you in words. Female desire is subtle, intelligent, and deeply emotional. Contrary to what many think, a woman doesn't give herself away by what you say, but by how you make her feel without having to say anything. In feminine psychology applied to attraction, a simple touch of the hair, a step closer, a quick look full of intention. All of this is part of a secret language that only attentive, emotionally prepared, and strategically intelligent men can decode. And maybe, while you try to please her with obvious compliments or long conversations that lead nowhere, she just wanted you to notice that nonverbal gesture that said, "Really notice me." Here on the channel, you are among men who have already understood that conquering is not about chasing. It is about realizing the right moment to act. And that's precisely why I want you to stay until the end, because you'll discover how powerful these signs are when interpreted in the right way. And look, if you've ever been in a situation where you felt like she was opening you up, but then it suddenly cooled off, maybe it's because you ignored the most important gesture. And this is the type of mistake that costs you dearly, emotionally, and even financially. Yes, because a man who masters this emotional reading not only attracts more, he also lives better, makes better decisions, and invests his time in the right women. And this saves you energy, suffering, money, and even self-esteem. Therefore, write in the comments, "I read the desire in the details," or "I activate her mind with strategy." These phrases are not just loose words, they are codes for a new mentality. Like this video now, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. Every time you do this, YouTube understands that this content transforms, and it really transforms. Because here you not only learn, you become a man who understands the feminine like few others. And she realizes this, she feels it, and she reacts to it. Let's move on, because now comes the part where everything starts to make sense. Today, you will leave this video with a new lens in your eyes, a lens that allows you to see hidden feminine desire, the one that reveals itself in the details, in the involuntary gestures, in the silent body language. Feminine psychology applied to attraction is not about guesswork. It's about accurate reading, emotional perception, and strategic action. You will learn to identify the real signs of interest that most men ignore, not because they are stupid, but because they were never taught to notice what really matters. While many are trying to decipher what she said, you will understand what she showed. And that's where the real power lies. See what is hidden, act with intention, and awaken in her what she herself tries to control. If you've always felt confused by a woman's contradictory behaviors, today that ends. Because by understanding the gestures that deliver desire, you completely change the game. Write in the comments now, "I see what others ignore," or "Attraction is strategic perception." Let's move on. One of my followers shared a story that may be exactly what you've experienced, and maybe you didn't even realize. He went out with a coworker, the two laughed, talked for hours, exchanged glances, and even some light touches. He thought it was just sympathy, politeness, nothing else. He believed that if she was interested, she would make it clear. But he didn't see the signs. He didn't understand the gestures. And the most curious thing is that 2 weeks later, she started dating another guy. Someone who was neither prettier nor more intelligent, but who knew how to read what she was, communicating without words. And do you know what he did? He noticed the way she threw her hair back when he approached. He felt the difference in the way she casually touched his shoulder. He understood that those silences full of intention were not random. They were invitations. Invitations that only those with emotional perception and strategic intelligence recognize. And that's why this video is so important, because he will teach you not to be the guy who misses opportunities due to a lack of emotional reading. If you have already experienced something similar, comment below. "I ignore signs, but that will change," or "Now I will decode every gesture." This helps the algorithm, but more than that, it fixes a new attitude in you. Let's continue. The first gesture you need to learn to recognize is prolonged eye contact. And I'm not talking about a casual look, but that look that lasts a second longer than usual. This detail, which most men don't notice, carries one of the most powerful signs of female psychology applied to attraction. When a woman holds her gaze longer than necessary, she's not just staring. She's engaging in a kind of silent emotional conversation. It's a veiled invitation, a subtle provocation that says, "Realize that I'm noticing you." This type of look breaks social barriers and creates intimate tension, even if you haven't even exchanged words yet. In women's emotional psychology, looking is the safest way to give yourself without appearing too available. It's a kind of invisible test. If you notice and hold your gaze with confidence, she feels confident. But if you ignore or deflect with insecurity, she perceives it as disinterest or emotional immaturity. And maybe, just maybe, that woman you thought was inaccessible gave you that sign, and you didn't see it. This is where many go wrong. They expect a direct statement, but female desire is hidden in visual, behavioral, and emotional codes. Remember, in strategic attraction, signals don't shout, they whisper. And only those who have emotional intelligence and mastery of female reading can listen. If you've ever experienced a moment like this and let it pass, comment now. "I'm learning to see what she doesn't say," or "Her look will never go unnoticed again." This consolidates learning and connects you with other men who are on the same path of evolution. Let's continue. Now that you understand the power of prolonged gaze, let's talk about one of the most underrated, and at the same time most revealing, gestures of female desire, the light and apparently accidental touch. When a woman touches you on the arm, hand, shoulder, or even the back during a conversation, even briefly, her body is sending a signal that the conscious mind may not even be able to control. In feminine psychology applied to attraction, this type of touch is not innocent. It's her body seeking closeness, emotional connection, and even an unconscious response from you. This gesture is the female equivalent of saying, "I'm comfortable with you," or even more so, "I want to see if you notice and how you'll react." And here comes a crucial point for you who want to become emotionally strategic. The way you react to that touch defines the direction of the interaction. Many men, when they notice the touch, either exaggerate their response and move forward too quickly, revealing neediness and anxiety, or ignore it completely for fear of appearing inconvenient. The balance is in reacting with naturalness and presence. A slight smile, holding your gaze, continuing the conversation with a more personal tone. This shows self-confidence and emotional dominance. A woman feels when she is in front of a man who understands the silent language of the body. And when you react in the right way, you differentiate yourself from 90% of the men she has tested. If you've ever been through a situation like this, an unexpected touch that left you unresponsive or that you thought was no big deal, comment here. Now I understand her touch. Or, I react with strategy, not with desperation. This phrase will establish the right mindset in you and also connect you with other men who are evolving together on this journey. Let's continue. And now comes a gesture that many men find merely cute or shy, but which, in fact, carries one of the greatest signs of emotional excitement within female psychology: the prolonged laugh, followed by that look down or to the side. This movement is not winish, random. When a woman laughs more than necessary, especially at something simple you said, and then looks away with a certain shyness, what's happening there is pure emotional vulnerability. And if you understand feminine psychology applied to attraction, you know that vulnerability in this context is the purest form of emotional delivery in disguise. It is the moment when her desire escapes rational control and appears in her body. She smiles because she feels touched, safe, or emotionally provoked by you. And looking down is an unconscious reflex that demonstrates that she allowed herself to feel something, even if for a second. This gesture shows that you have activated something within her, something that goes beyond rational conversation. But the problem is, if you don't recognize this sign and just carry on as if nothing happened, you miss the opportunity to deepen the emotional connection. The tip here is simple but powerful. When this happens, don't change the subject. Quickly, hold the gaze, maintain the energy of the conversation, and validate that moment with a slight, confident smile. This reinforces in her the feeling that she can allow herself to feel more, and then you start to occupy the emotional space that she only gives to men who know how to read her emotional language. If you have ever witnessed this type of laughter and thought it was just sympathy, comment below, "I understand her laugh," or "Her shyness reveals her hidden desire." Each comment like this shows that you are on the right path and further strengthens the community of emotionally intelligent men who are evolving along with you. Let's continue. There is a gesture that seems completely innocent, but which, within feminine psychology applied to attraction and relationships, is a true thermometer of interest. The moment in which she adjusts her hair, changes her clothes, or adjusts herself in the mirror as soon as she notices your presence. This is not vanity. That's instinct. Female behavior, when emotionally stimulated by a man she desires, activates an automatic pattern of physical fitness. She prettifies herself without realizing it. It's the body trying to say, "I want it to see me in the best possible light," even if it rationally denies it. This movement happens in a matter of seconds, and you can be sure she doesn't do this for everyone. She does it when she wants to make an emotional impact. Women do not spend energy on physical adjustments if they do not feel that there is a possibility of emotional connection or sexual attraction. The most interesting thing is that, contrary to what many men think, she is not being superficial. She is, in fact, showing that your presence activates a state of emotional attention in her. A man attentive to these signs understands that this gesture is a silent response to the energy he transmits. So, if you've noticed her touching her hair, crossing her legs strategically, fiddling with her clothes, or even putting a gloss on her lips as soon as you arrive, that's attraction. This is a clear sign that she wants to be noticed by you, not just anyone. And the way you respond to this gesture defines whether she will open up more or close down. Therefore, keep your presence firm, your gaze confident, and continue with a conversation that activates her emotions even more. If you've ever seen this and didn't know what it meant, comment now. "I understand her instinct," or "She gets ready because she feels something." It shows that you are learning to decode the deeper signals of female desire and strengthens our space here as a community of emotionally intelligent and strategically irresistible men. Let's move on. This next gesture is even more subtle, but carries enormous emotional weight when we understand the logic of feminine psychology applied to attraction and relationships. Do you know when she could choose anywhere to sit but decides to sit next to you? When she could just text you but instead makes a point of hearing your voice or even seeing you in person? This kind of closeness is not accidental. She is not there just by education or chance. This is presence with intention. It is unassumed desire, camouflaged desire. The emotionally attracted woman seeks to stay close, even if she doesn't say it in words. Proximity is her most instinctive way of keeping you within her energy field. This happens when you provoke sensations in her that go beyond the rational. And most importantly, she wants you to notice, but without having to expose yourself directly. Because for the feminine, seduction is in the suggestion, not in the declaration. This gesture reveals that she is testing her level of perception, If you notice and remain firm, confident, present, she feels safe. But if you treat it as if it's irrelevant or get too anxious, she backs off. An emotionally strategic man understands that when a woman approaches without a logical reason, it is because the reason is emotional. And this is the territory where you need to learn to act, between the lines, in unverbalized emotions, in behavioral reading. If she chooses to be close, it's because there is something inside her asking for this connection. If you have ever experienced this type of situation and now realize what was really happening, comment below. Now I understand the silent approach. Or, she approaches because something inside her wants me. This strengthens your awareness and unites us as a group of men who are developing a keen eye for female desire. Let's continue. There is a moment that confuses many men, but which for those who understand feminine psychology applied to attraction, is one of the most powerful expressions of emotional desire. Silence accompanied by an intense gaze. You know when she doesn't say anything, but watches you carefully, as if she's studying your every move? This is not absence. This is an invitation. This is where the emotional game intensifies. Female silence in these moments does not represent disinterest. On the contrary, it's a sophisticated way to create tension and provoke you emotionally without having to expose yourself. Women by nature use silence as language. It is in silence that she tests her emotional control. It is in the silence that she waits to see if you are the type of man who despairs without an answer, or if you are the type of man who remains secure, centered, dominant. This silence is an open field for connection, for interpretation, and most importantly, for subtle action. An emotionally intelligent man understands that when she says nothing, but looks at you deeply, she is saying everything with her eyes. She is saying, "Understand me without me having to speak." This is the moment where many slip, trying to fill in words what should be felt. If you can sustain that look, calmly, without rushing, without anxiety, you communicate emotional strength. And that's what attracts her. It's in this kind of silent connection that a woman's attraction intensifies, because she feels like you're on the same emotional reading level. If you've experienced something similar, remember a look that stayed in your mind for days, comment here. Her silence told me everything. Or, now I know what her look meant. This strengthens your perception, raises your level of consciousness, and keeps us connected as men playing on another level, the level of strategic emotional attraction. Let's continue. You've noticed that so far, we've delved deep into the female mind, not through logic, but through emotion. Today you saw the 6 silent gestures that most men simply ignore, not because they are weak, but because they were never taught to see. Only now, you are part of a group that sees clearly. A group that understands what it means when she looks and then looks away, when she approaches you for no reason, when she touches you lightly, or adjusts her hair just for being in your presence. Everything that seems small carries an emotional universe that only those who have mastered feminine psychology applied to attraction recognize. And the difference between an ordinary man and a strategically irresistible man lies precisely in this, in perceiving what is not said and acting on that perception. But it's not over yet, because there is a gesture number 7, a gesture that she only makes when she feels that she is truly emotionally involved. It's the gesture that few men witness, because it doesn't appear at the beginning, but rather when the emotional connection is forming in a deep way. And when you understand this gesture, you gain direct access to the woman's most intimate emotional field. That's when she starts thinking about you before bed, that she associates your presence with emotional security and desire at the same time. And that's what I'm going to show you in part 2, a gesture that, when it happens, changes the game completely. If you are committed to this transformation, write here in the comments, "I see what she hides," or "I play the emotional game at her level." These phrases are not just words. They are anchors that will fix this new mindset in you. And now take a deep breath, because what comes next will reveal everything you needed to know to dominate her heart with emotional intelligence. Let's continue. If at any point in your life you realize that you missed an opportunity because you didn't understand what she was really communicating with her body, with silence or with that seemingly innocent gesture, then this video was made for you. And there is no shame in that, because what separates an ordinary man from a strategically irresistible man is not the past he had, but the way he chooses to act from now on. From now on, you have access to a new vision, a deeper, clearer, more powerful emotional reading. You will no longer depend on words, promises, or obvious signs. You will win over women with presence, perception, and mastery of applied female psychology. And I want to see who is really committed to this turnaround. Then comment below. Firmly, "I will never ignore a sign again," or Now I read the desire in the eyes. Every comment from you reinforces what you just learned and shows that you are part of a community of men who are awakening to the true power of emotional connection. And if you haven't signed up yet, now is the time, because the next video will reveal to you the biggest silent desire a woman hides. And when you discover that, everything changes. Let's move on.